Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, continuing our look at Warhammer The Old World Rulebook and the laws of magic. So we've done battle magic, now we're on to Daemonology. Let's see how the spells in Daemonology fare. Okay, first up, the signature spell. So this is called the Summoning. It's a magic missile. Casting value 9+, so it's mid-range in terms of difficulty. And it's got a range of 18 inches, which is okay for a magic missile, but it's not the 24 inches we see with the fireball. So effect-wise, the target enemy unit suffers 2d6 strength 4 hits, each with an AP of -1. That's pretty reasonable, actually. 2d6, average of 6, strength 4, magical sort of strength number that I personally like is, strength 4 and above, where you want to be. Then an AP -1, pretty reasonable. As a signature spell, this is great. Magic missiles are generally pretty flexible, and this one that has the 2d6 hits, which is a nice number, the strength 4, at least it has some AP. The downside being that it's a 9+ cast spell, but that's not crazy bad. Again, particularly like if you're taking that level 4 wizard, like we said in the last video. I strongly recommend taking a level 4, so shouldn't be too bad. And having the ability to swap this spell in to get rid of another spell that you don't like or doesn't fit with your army theme, this is a really good flexible spell to get into your repertoire. So yeah, without a doubt, as a signature spell, I really like this. Okay, first of the 6 spells then is Steed of Shadows. Now this is a conveyance spell used in the movement phase. Casting value is 9 again, so another mid-difficulty one. Range is 15. Now, it shouldn't be too bad because you are targeting friendly units. So lower ranges are not bad when you're targeting friendly, right? Because there's normally those units in between you and the enemy. So, can only target friendly troop type infantry if they're not fleeing and they have not already moved. The unit gains fly 12 until your next start of turn subphase. That's pretty nice. Has more uses than you might initially think, because initially you think they're going, okay, so all thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go either fly over one of my own units, or I'm going to fly over the enemy unit and get behind it. Yes, those are some obvious things to do, but the other thing that this sticks out for me is getting around the board, as in getting across terrain, difficult terrain, dangerous terrain, that sort of thing. Is actually quite good. And fly 12, that's pretty solid in terms of movement. And plus, if you look at infantry, how far do infantry normally have as a move characteristic? And more normally moving, what, about 4, 5, maybe 6 as a movement characteristic. So getting fly 12 is doubling, if not tripling, the move characteristic in some cases. So this one, pretty nice. I quite like it as a movement spell, and again, it's affecting a whole unit, not just a single character or something. And infantry of all the units that are going to need improvements in mobility, it's going to be infantry, right? So it's targeting exactly the thing you want it to target. So pretty good first spell. Okay, next up is Gathering Darkness. This is a hex spell. Again, mid-value casting there of 9+, low range of 12, so you're going to have to be pretty close to the enemy to do this one. What does it do? Well, until your next start of turn subphase, the target enemy unit suffers a -2 initiative modifier and a -2 leadership modifier. You cannot use the General's Inspiring Presence rule, and this spell may target an enemy unit in combat. Okay, but it's going to be important to note that it's not an assailment spell, so you're not casting it in combat. So, this is an interesting one. I mean, obviously, you're casting this spell before the movement phase, right? So you could cast it on an enemy unit and then charge it. Is the -2 initiative modifier going to be that important? In some specific cases, maybe, but if you're charging, unless you're in a really low initiative unit to start with, you're going to get that initiative bonus. You're probably going to be attacking first. So I'm not sure that the initiative modifier is going to be a good bonus. I mean, the -2 leadership modifier is going to be good in combat. But, you know, the good thing it could be used against is if you're close enough to the front line, then you could maybe put this spell on an enemy unit that's about to charge. The difficulty is getting close enough, right? Yeah, it's going to be interesting once you'd have to move. You're going to have to be within 12 inches, right, before your movement phase. So it's going to be quite a reactionary spell. This isn't going to be one that you're going to necessarily have the ability to tee up, because your opponent will have moved and done all their bits, and you'd have fought the combats, then it's your turn, then you have to cast this without moving. So you have to be within 12 inches at the beginning of your turn of an enemy unit that you want to put it on. So, yeah, it's... the -2 initiative, the -2 leadership's pretty nice, as is the not being able to use general's inspiring presence. It has value. The downside is that range of 12, and it being a hex meaning that you cast it before the movement phase. So, yeah, you got to think in your mind. You're playing the battle. How many times are you actually going to get to use this spell? If you got this, would I rather swap it out for the signature? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Next up, though, is Demonic Familiars. Now, this is an assailment spell. It's casting value of 8, and it's done in combat, so relatively low casting value, effect-wise. So, a single enemy unit the caster is engaged in combat with suffers 2d6 strength 2 hits with no armor saves allowed, ward saves, regeneration allowed as normal. So, yes, it's not the lowest casting value, but it's on the lower end. 2d6 is a nice number. No armor saves is amazing. Strength 2 is the downside. So you get an average of 6 hits with your 2d6, right? That's just your dice average, right? And then you're probably going to be wounding on 5s or 6s. So you may get 1 or 2 wounds on average, right? So, no armor save allowed. That's reasonably nice. You can expect then on even the heaviest armored units, you're going to be causing 1 to 2 casualties on average. That's not bad. Killing 1 to 2 chosen if you're in combat. The thing is, you're in combat, right? So you're going to be trying to keep your wizard in most of the time. You're going to be trying to keep them out of combat. Maybe some edge cases where you've got like some sort of battle wizard or something like that that can cast. In which case, this is only going to be a value, right? If you've got a wizard out there who's going to be getting stuck in combat and is going to be in a unit that's going to be getting stuck in combat, this is absolutely a good spell to have. Because you'd be able to chip some wounds, chip some casualties. But the strength 2 is a bit of the downer. And the only thing that makes up for that is the no armor save allowed. So it's okay. If I've got a wizard who's going to be getting stuck in combat, is in a combat unit, this would be a spell I'd probably want, just because that no armor save allowed. You could get lucky, roll some good. A good number of hits coupled with a reasonable number of wounds, and before you know it, you've done 4 to 6 casualties on a really heavily armored unit. Well, that's devastating, right? On a cavalry unit, you think about most really heavily armed cavalry units, even ones that might get to the magical 2+, or even 3+, right? It's a great armor save. Well, a lot of cavalry units, it's still only a man or an elf riding it. Toughness 3, you got a good chance of actually doing some wounds there and removing. So actually, this could be a great spell if you get charged by heavy cavalry too. So, yeah, it's got value. It's got value. Okay, next. Demonic Vessel. This is an enchantment. This is on the higher end of the casting value. So it's on the range self. Until the end of this turn, the caster, their mount, and any unit they've joined gets a +1 modifier to strengthen attacks to a maximum of 10 and improve the AP of all weapons by 1. Okay, that's really good. +1 strength, +1 attack. So you think that, all those models that are in combat, essentially can double their attacks if they've got 1. They're getting the improvement of AP on all their weapons. Yeah, the effect is great, right? It's not going to be the easiest to cast, so having it on something less than a level 4 is going to make it more of a challenge, because you want reliability, right? You want to take as much of the element of dice roll out of it as possible, and the higher level wizard allows you to reduce or put the odds more in your favour. And do you want that higher level wizard in combat? Because that's what really this is for. Because it is until the end of this turn. So you are casting it before the movement phase. So you cast it on your unit and the caster, and then they charge into combat. The other advantage of this is if you've got a caster that isn't trying to get in combat, that's finding themselves being put in a position where they have to get in combat, he can immediately buff his unit and give that unit a chance to do some reasonable damage. So yeah, this is actually not a bad spell. It's just a difficulty to cast, right? It's just a difficulty to cast. And again, how many times are you going to be able to get this off and make use of it in a 5-6 round game? Maybe 1 or 2 turns you're going to be wanting to cast it and get benefit from it. So you really want it on a higher level caster to get that 10 plus reliably. Okay. Next up is the Vortex of Chaos. This is the magical vortex. It has a casting value of 8, so it's on the lower end. Range is 15 inches. So it remains in play, which is nice. 3-inch round template within 15 inches of the caster. Template is treated as dangerous terrain, but moves d6 inches in a random direction at the start of turn subphase. Any unit, friend or foe the template touches or moves over suffers d6 plus 1. Strength 3, yeah, okay, not the best, with AP of -. So its damage output is not great on average. On average, that's 4 hits. 4 strength 3 hits with no AP. The biggest value is probably 3 inches of dangerous terrain. And it's got the flaming attacks. So yeah, it's not great damage output wise. The random direction, d6 inches, it could become as much of a pain for you. Imagine this thing moving in the way of you getting a flank attack or something like that. Yeah. Spells like this that have random directions that can cause damage to yourself, I'll buy it. but with, so in a way, it's good it doesn't do much damage, because if it does hit you, then you're not going to take too much damage. But at the same time, the risk versus reward, the reward aspect is not that great, right? And that's the key for me, is that this is a risk versus reward spell. There is risk that it either moves in a horrible location or it hits you and you take damage to yourself. The reward is that if you do get it off and you get it on an enemy unit, it's not doing a huge amount on average. And it remains in play. So yes, I guess the caster could, stop the spell and take it off before it hits you. So, there is ways of dealing with that, but still, I'd rather have the signature spell. If I look at all of this, I'd rather have that signature spell. 2d6, strength 4, AP -1 at range 18. So yeah, signature spell it is for me. Magical Vortex for Daemonology, I'm not a big fan. Okay, Demonic Vigor then, the last one of the Law of Daemonology. So it's an enchantment spell, its casting value is 9. So again, middle of the road. Seems like a lot of Daemonology has middle of the road casting values. Range is 15 inches. Until the end of this turn, the target friendly unit gains +1 modifier to movement, toughness, and initiative to a maximum of 10. I like it. I think this is a great spell. It's middle of the range difficulty to cast, but would be good on a level 4 for that reliability. Range 15 inches, targeting a friendly unit, so that's really not a problem. And giving them additional movement, making them tougher, and give them a chance to attack first, and a higher chance to attack first, all have great value. So I like this spell. I think this is a good spell, and one that I'd probably definitely would in most cases like to have on a level 4, sitting behind the main front line, putting it on the relevant unit to give them that boost. The toughness there particularly nice, as is the initiative. So there you go. That brings us to the Law of Daemonology. Overall, seems pretty reasonable. I think so far I prefer Battle Magic the most. There's some really good things in Daemonology, and what I really do like about Daemonology is I do like that it's got a very nice, flexible signature spell that I can't think of many occasions where you wouldn't want that spell, which means if you get another spell randomly that you don't like, it doesn't make it too difficult a decision to swap in the signature spell and get that in your arsenal. Let me know what you guys think about the Law of Daemonology in the comments down below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, and also put a comment down below and let me know why you didn't like it. If you want to see more content, and hit the subscribe button. It's totally free for you to do. It takes a few seconds for you to do, but it is a massive, massive deal for me. So thank you for that in advance. And thank you to all those who have already subscribed and are returning viewers. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very, very soon.